All right, welcome back. We are playing The Between, Darkened Mirrors, episode 2. So we just finished dusk phase for this particular threat, dealing with the St. Cecilia's gargoyle. And the hunters have answered the first question, which is which entity gave the gargoyle life? Demon, spirit, or man? And answered with demon. So now the next question is what is needed to capture and banish this entity? So resolve the threat by breaking the gargoyle asunder and banishing the entity that releases before it can escape. Okay. And so there's 3 clues on the board, and that particular question is a 4 complexity. So we will be entering night phase, which I think, as I described last time, is a bit punchier and could be more dangerous for investigation. Okay. And then we will also be engaging in the unseen, a mechanic in the between that is quite special. So again, as a reminder, the unseen is your way of tying in your hunter scenes with something that happens completely in a different place from where you are. All right. So it's a slice of life or a seedy underbelly of London. And I picked the dinner party as the unseen for this particular night phase. Okay. But before we do, let's just go over the hunters and just take a look at their conditions at the moment. So the American Doc has Secret Keeper and Drained. The explorer, Lord James Campbell-Hughes, has Old Times. The Factotum Whitmore has In the Dark. And the legacy, Victor Armstrong, has Marked by Cyrus. Okay. So I'm just going to go over again where you expect to go for the night phase. All right. And I'll reread the main description, and then we will begin night phase with the reading of the first prompt. Okay. So let's just review. Who's going where for night phase? Let's start with Lord Campbell-Hughes.
I had asked Whitmore to accompany me to the cathedral at St. Cecilia's, where we're going to do like a night hunt.
Ooh,
so we're armed with anything that we think that might hurt a gargoyle. So probably like a sledgehammer or 2 is probably what I'm thinking.
And at the very least, Whitmore would Whitmore would have packed a broom and dustpan, and in addition to the other weapons.
Okay. All righty. So cathedral. All right. Victor?
Victor would like to inform the father about the man like impaled above this church. And like if you need someone to take it off for him, like Victor will help him out with that.
Okay, so you'll be on the roof?
Yeah, or talking to the father, I think, initially, just to let him know that
Sure.
Since there.
Okay. And then Doc, where are you going?
My general idea was to follow up on my plan that our adorable new street urchin friend kind of derailed and just like go drinking in search of bad vibes. I think it's roughly how I described it.
Okay.
I did have a mechanics question if now would be the time to ask it.
Yeah,
just about the night phase. So my goal as far as like move stuff to accomplish is to search for a clue, but also I want to try to use this oh geez, what is the exact name of it? The one move I took at start that helps me with my roll that I have to make, the quickening roll, and it is called As Cruel as the Harlot's Curse.
Okay, so go ahead and let's go ahead and read that off. So when you indulge your vice alone in the dark and seedy underbelly of London in order to deaden your senses, roll with vitality. Okay. And then when you do, you're going to clear a condition and choose one. If you hit, you clear a condition and choose one from the list below, and then we'll if you get to do that, then you go ahead and pick. If you get a 10 plus, you choose 2 of those choices. And then on a 12 plus, you take a memento. But just like crossing your fingers, hoping for the best. Great. So that's awesome. All right. So we can totally indulge that for sure.
Okay.
All right, great. So we'll just assume that you're going to be out and about, obviously not near the unseen, but you're going to be try. Hold on. What was your voice again? Your voice?
Oh, like my cowboy voice that I make?
The Vice.
Oh,
sorry.
Vice is coffin varnish. So I'm going out drinking.
Okay. All right.
I'm pretty sure that's just like slang. That's slang for like bathtub gin, essentially.
Or you have made acquaintance with certain bars or establishments that will meet certain strange requests.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I'm thinking
I'm making a note. Yeah, I'm making a note
of
that right now. Coffin varnish is now literal.
I mean, it has come up in other between games, not mine, but I mean in other between games where people come up with the weirdest vices for sure. So this is not new.
Perfect.
All right. So I just want to make sure I have that down. Okay. So let me go ahead and read off the unseen to kick off said night phase. All right. Did anybody have any questions before we began about anything going on? Okay. Oh, just in case I did not say, because I don't recall saying this in the first episode, the threats that you'll be dealing with have specific masks associated with them. Like you have masks of the past and masks of the future. Threats have usually like a mask associated with them. The difference is that one person would be able to take said mask to bump up their roll, the tier of their roll. However, when you pick a threat mask, everybody gets to do it. So if Doc wants to save a roll and he picks, the threat mask, which is in this case known as the mask of penance, if he picks it, he bumps up his roll, but then at the next dawn phase or dusk phase, then you all would be narrating a mask of penance. Okay. Just so you know. Not all threats have masks associated with them, but in general they do. Okay. So dinner party, let's go through. Eric Taylor has a good job as a clerk, and his wife Abigail, they form the very picture of the respectable new Victorian middle class. Behind the lace curtains of their terrace home, they are throwing a small dinner party for equally respectable friends, the Davenports. The Taylor's daughter, Maud, plays piano passively in the parlor before dinner is served. Okay, so paint the scene, and this one is for everyone. And I want you guys to take advantage of the blank space where I put down whose prompt it is, to enter in details that you say, because then it'll help you remember what you can pull upon for mentioning it in your hunter scenes. So this way you can tie them together thematically and sensually. Okay. So paint the scene. As the Taylors and the Davenports enter the dining room, what do we see that shows the Taylors have made their best efforts to impress? And how do we know the Davenports are a rung above them in terms of wealth and privilege and prestige? Sorry.
Okay. The first thing that jumps to mind for me is clothes. I think that the Taylors have clothes as we would think of them, like made of natural materials with matte and textured hues of kind of subdued colors, the kind of stuff that you can have for a very long time because the dark colors don't show stains, and it's easy to keep it's easy to keep clean. But of course this is their nicest outfit, so it's all a little bit too stiff, especially for their daughter was Maud. Yeah, so Maud's dress is almost too stiff for her to be comfortable in. And then in contrast, I want to say the Davenports are shiny, like there's silk happening. They're there's textures, there's like a paisley thing going on that is just it's too delicate and too easily besmirched for a family such as the Taylors.
I'm going to say that both Mr. Taylor and Mr. Davenport both smoke from pipes, and we can tell that Mr. Taylor's pipe is probably handed down from his dad or from an uncle or something, and it's a bit more rustic. But Mr. Davenport's pipe has ivory fittings. It maybe even has like his family crest carved on the side, and it's just a magnificent pipe compared to Mr. Taylor's.
I think poor Maud in this very stiff dress not only has to play during dinner, we can see that her hands have like marks on her back, on the back of them, like they're kind of raw, like someone has been like correcting her playing in preparation for this night. She has like little like bandages on her fingers, and like whenever she does a note that is not exactly perfect, we can see that the Taylors can like hear it because they know what it's supposed to sound like, and you can see them kind of like twitch a little. But you can see that the Davenports actually appreciate the little differences of note, because they know that those little flourishes really what makes a piece individual to the person.
And I think that the Taylor's dog would be especially well groomed for this evening. Like you can actually smell the soap still on the dog from where it maybe wasn't fully washed off. Like, no, we've bathed the dog for this dinner party. All of that, however, goes out the window the second the door opens, as the dog scurries out back into the mud, knocking into Mrs. Davenport, who drops the expensive bottle of red wine. And so as soon as the door opens, the bell's still ringing, there's just a crack and a splat as a bottle of red wine hits the ground.
Victor, do you think you stay near the cathedral, or do you think you head back to Hargrave House first, clean up or what have you, and then go back to talk with Father O'Donnell?
I think Victor would have dinner at Hargrave House first, or grab some food.
Okay.
In preparation for the night.
The reason I ask is because I'm wondering whether you go with Lord Campbell-Hughes and Whitmore back to the cathedral, or do you like not wait for them and just kind of head off as soon as you pick up something?
If Lord Hughes and Whitmore are there, he'll like hitch a ride. He wouldn't mind. But like Victor is very much like on his schedule. Like he'll just do things when he feels like it.
Gotcha. Okay. Just for funsies, let's have that scene with you in the carriage with Lord Campbell-Hughes and Whitmore. Do you call a cab, or do you think you would take, some help from the Royal Explorers Club? I forget like whether you can actually utilize one of the moves.
I think he could be a side character that we use just for rides, and
okay,
only spin the point when it does a double knight move.
Okay, great.
But I don't plan on doing a double knight move.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Like when you have multiple threats going, just so you know.
I think instead we'll just have a regular handsome cab ready to go.
Okay.
And as we're kind of all in this as we're all in the cab together, Lord James has like this, he's like leaning on this big sledgehammer, and he says, so Mr. Armstrong, you ever utilized a hammer like this to dispatch one of your creatures?
Well, Not me in particular, but one the Armstrongs as a family, we usually just have one weapon, kind of an all-purpose thing. It's kind of tailored to each one of us. Only one family member can really carry the twin axes. The one most suited for it, me this time. Hammers, though, I had an uncle that used a hammer. Swung it around quicker than someone could swing a dagger. It was quite a sight to see. Are you very well versed in your weaponry?
Oh, quite so. And I plan to sweep the knees and hopefully take out its stone legs, and then me and Whitmore here will make quick work out of this beast.
Good, good. Just so we're clear, if this goes both ways, if you see an opportunity to kill the creature while sacrificing me, go for it. But if there is an opportunity to take down this creature, but it involves you two as casualties, I will also not hesitate to use that advantage. Is that fine?
Oh, that's just the way the business is.
What
Good,
do you mean by
good.
casualties?
Oh, we lose a few along the way, Whitmore.
Yes.
Like
yes.
like fingers or
Hopefully just fingers.
just?
Piece of advice: if you were to lose one finger, you would like to lose your ring finger. It's the least useful one out of the 5. Pinky finger, little known fact, adds a lot of grip to your grasp. Ring finger is the one you want to lose.
Whitmore would just stare at his own hand and then probably stare at one of Lord Campbell-Hughes's hands and then back at his own hand.
Let's go over to Doc. Doc, you find yourself at one of the seedy bars. Funnily enough, like around near here, I think because you've found them in your travels in London, and you know that they kind of have your particular type of spirits, per se. What does this place look like, just out of curiosity?
I think it's like very thin and very tall in an area where like buildings are squished next to each other. Alleyways are sometimes so narrow that the Doc has to turn sideways to go through them, and has like building touching both his back and his front at the same time. So it's like frightfully claustrophobic, and with the people like milling about in front of the establishment, and just like the detritus of living in a less cared for part of town. Like when you're in front and just like about to walk in the doors of this establishment, without looking really carefully, it kind of feels like there's no way to get back. Like you feel like you've stepped into a courtyard with no exit.
Who has your particular who has your particular bottle well in hand?
Oh, it's the piano player.
Oh, okay.
Keep it in the piano.
What's their name?
Elway comes to mind.
Cool. All right, Elway it is. All right. Pronouns. so I have an idea.
He, him.
Okay. So yeah, you approach Elway, and like, he's tootling around on this piano. Still noisy, of course, everybody's doing their own thing, but he sees you come in, and kind of like will keep playing as he stands up, and then kind of like reaches in and into like one of the hidden pockets, I guess, and pulls out a particular bottle, and without even stopping, like he'll kind of like slide it on the top of the piano towards you, and then like continue playing. Rough night.
Wow. Perceptive as always, Elway. It has not been my favorite day, and that sentiment has stretched on into the night. You seem chirk as always, my friend. I don't know how you keep that demeanor so steady.
I live off of the balm that the music brings, my friend. And he just kind of like, you see him sway like to his music. I mean, it would be partially noise, except it's drowned out by all the hubbub that's happening in this courtyard. Like people don't people don't pay him any mind, but he just plays on, and it's like he's hearing something that maybe you don't. As you indulge in your vice, like sucking this down, sipping it up. I don't know how you're doing it, or smelling it, whatever. Why don't you go ahead and roll with vitality to utilize as cruel as the harlot's curse?
Yes. Oh, that's not how I was supposed to do it. I'm sorry. I just rolled 2d6 in a row. Should I just take the 2d6 I rolled as opposed to rolling them in the same?
Hold on. I'm still trying to figure out what.
Gotcha. Yeah, I should have hit make a complex roll and rolled 2d6 at the
Yes.
same time.
Yeah, go ahead and do make the complex roll with 2d6 plus your vitality.
Okay.
That confused me for a bit. I was like, what am I looking at?
Yep. Sorry about that.
No
Let
problem.
me double check my vitality. I'm fairly sure I know it. Yeah. Okay. So. Ho ho.
Ho ho, indeed. All right. So off the move, it says 12 plus. You take a memento, ask another hunter what it is, and you put it in your personal quarters. And then, of course, since it's 10 plus, you get to clear. I'm assuming you're going to clear drained. And then you're going to choose 2 of those choices, which are you don't draw any unwanted attention, you befriend a side character, you gain some resistance to your curse, and then on your next quickening roll, you would increase the success tier by 1 step, and you stumble on a clue, and you tell me what it is. The clue, however, cannot conclusively answer the question by itself. Okay, so
Okay.
which 2 do you want to pick, and then ask another hunter what your memento is.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to gain resistance on my next quickening roll.
Yeah, so make a mark somewhere saying that you're going to be bumping that up
Yes.
the next time you roll for next dusk phase.
Okay.
And then you're going to do, what's your second choice?
I think to be careful and make sure I don't draw unwanted attention would be smart, but instead I think I'm going to find a clue.
Okay, so go ahead and figure out what that is. Which hunter do you want to tell you what the memento is?
I'd like to hear it from Whitmore, or Jeremy rather, because we had that fun story at the start.
Okay, I mean, you don't have to say it now, Jeremy. Maybe we get through night phase, and then you create the memento while he creates the clue. Alrighty, so
yeah, I got to work on that.
Yep. So back to the group that's at the cathedral. You pull up in the cab. I'm assuming that Victor is pretty much combat rolling out of the carriage and then running into the church to go find Father O'Donnell. And I want to ask first, Lord Campbell-Hughes and Whitmore, do you want to do a perimeter sweep first of the church of the cathedral, or did you want to go directly inside?
Did you said there's catacombs?
There's catacombs, and then there's also Death Alley.
How do we get into the catacombs? Is that inside the cathedral, or is there some entrance outside?
No, there's an entrance outside. Let me just double check myself here. Give me a second. Yeah, it doesn't specifically say, but that's not a problem. So I'm gonna say that it is a separate entrance. Here's what I found. Love Apple Watch. Yeah, it's a completely separate entrance, maybe on the other side of Death Alley, because that's full of headstones and gravestones and such for the graveyard, and then the catacombs themselves are some other subterranean passageways near the cathedral. Okay, so yeah, just consider them 2 separate things. Are you going to head to the catacombs?
Yep.
All right. So when you get to the catacombs, it's framed by like a stone entryway, and you can just get the sense of like narrow passageways and like skeletal walls, and there's a very strong stench of sewage and sulfur here. All right. So paint the scene. It is apparent that someone uses this space for some form of religious ritual. What lets you know it's a regular weekly occurrence? And this is a paint the scene for everyone.
I'm going to say as we enter, and I'm guessing I've got the sledgehammer, and Whitmore is probably behind me with some kind of like a lantern. But we see as we get closer to the entrance or past the entrance, we see like a shelf carved into the walls, and there's candles, and we can see where candles have been burnt down and replaced, burnt down and replaced. There's stubs of them all over. And these aren't like for remembrances. These are strange, like slender, stubby, black candles.
Despite the gate to the catacombs being closed and seeing leaf litter kind of trapped on the side of the gate, once we've opened it and set foot inside, we can see that there are newspapers, like loose sheets of newsprint going back weeks and months, maybe not necessarily day-by-day accounts, but probably a few dozen newsprints listing each date and stories drifted, cluttering the ground.
Are crypts the same as catacombs? Or is it?
Crypts
Or-
are could just be like a single room, or like a
Mhm.
like a like a group of rooms, whereas
Yeah.
like catacombs are the mazes, like the
Yeah.
subterranean mazes.
Do they hold dead people, or they're
They
just like
can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Then in that case, as you pass by like those little like openings where they've put people, there seems to be like someone who, just based on like the title and name of the person, does a little like small charcoal drawing of what they feel like that person was in life, and some of these are like fresher than others.
Not to steal too much thunder from the shelf of burnt down candles, but I also had something with smoke. I think like in the center of the crypt, there are, you know how if you don't have like a good vent above your stove, the steam will like sometimes get a thick coating on the cabinets above it, or even in the ceiling. This is that, but for smoke, which you would assume would normally be like black for soot, right? But this is something else entirely. It's like a deep yellow, sticky soot equivalent. Clearly something that's been like deposited in the ceiling due to, or after like many nights of burning some kind of substance in an organized position underneath, likely something much larger than candles, something like a brazier or like a torch. But it's left like a sticky and thick yellow sooty residue on the ceiling.
Yeah. So you see all of this as you make your way into the catacombs, and
Before,
yeah.
sorry, before we set foot in the catacombs,
Okay.
Whitmore would definitely take a look around, light the lantern, and then ask Lord Campbell-Hughes if he could hold it for just a moment before giving himself a cross, taking the lantern back up and heading into the catacombs.
All right. So you make your way through the catacombs. Are you looking for anything specific? I mean, obviously this is very specific. So this is something regular that's been happening here. But
We Once we notice that it's been used pretty regular for some type of odd ritual space, which does not look like it's sanctioned by the Anglican Church,
Mm.
then I think we'll stop the gargoyle hunt for just a second, Whitmore. What is all this? And I start poking through this strange detritus.
Nothing good, at the very least. Please, Lord Campbell-Hughes, at the very least, if you're going to do that, and he would shuffle through his bag before bringing out a pair of dusting gloves. At least wear gloves.
I'm more tactile. We might find some secret passages, tripwires.
Very well. The gloves will go back in the bag, and Whitmore will disdainfully begin rummaging through the filth.
Sorry, just had to laugh. I think as you are making your way deeper into the catacombs, I think that you hear a fluttering behind you, and if you look, then there's a raven that will fly down and perch on the rusty gate of the catacombs and kind of caw, almost as a greeting or a warning as you enter deeper into the catacombs. So, Victor, as you're making your way into the cathedral, it's nighttime, and the church itself, the main part, is now just lit by candles. There's some prayer candles, remembrance candles lit up on the side, and then the church itself is like kind of in a wide section of pews, and you can see like there's like the hallways like leading off to the side, and it's just like full of nooks and crannies. And there's statuary here too, like dotting alongside in regular intervals. You don't see Father O'Donnell. And again, it's just dark, and the stained glass windows are just showing the signs of the darkness.
Victor starts walking through the cathedral, just saying out loud, echoing, "Father Donald? Father? Father." And as he walks by some stuff, he fiddles with the keys of the church piano a little bit as he walks through. Does a quick da 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 on them just for fun. He goes, "Father, there's someone stuck on your roof. Just wanted to let you know that. See if you know that someone was missing, that they weren't skipping out on any church services they were supposed to be doing."
There's a boom, or it's like a storm has happened overhead, and lightning flashes across one of the stained glass windows nearest to their altar, and you see what looks like a monstrous silhouette through the stained glass windows. And we're going to go to the unseen. Next unseen prompt. Jeremy, Mrs. Taylor and Mrs. Davenport hate one another. How do they subtly lash out over the course of dinner without drawing attention or causing a scene?
If this dinner is anything like my family dinners, it would be served in multiple courses. Your soups would come out, then the bowls would go back to the kitchen, and the salads would come out. And each and every course, Mrs. Davenport would ask Mrs. Taylor if she'd like some help, either washing the dishes or bringing out the next course. And Mrs. Taylor would always say, "No, no, I've got this," before then struggling in with 3 or 4 place settings at a time. And this ritual of, "Can I help? No, no, I've got this," would continue the entire night, culminating in the fact that Mrs. Taylor will be up well past midnight cleaning dishes because the dishes from the first course were never washed. Mrs. Taylor will have shot herself in the foot, metaphorically.
Oh, goodness. All right. So, Doc, you're sniffing and sipping at your varnish.
Mhm.
And you know, what do you do? I mean, like, do you stay and talk with Elway? Do you kind of wander around and look to see, what there is to be found?
Mhm. I think that Doc is a fairly experienced bar patron, and so, like, makes his time with Elway for the appropriate amount, right? Elway's not very talkative, I don't think. It's like just to the point of being standoffish, but Doc has a sense that, if he were to just split when he gets his varnish, that Elway would feel slighted. So there's a little bit of chat, and that lets him look around the room, and then he, spots people that may be having a really good night, or maybe not having a good night, and kind of making a little checklist in his head, and then he kind of goes cavorting around the room from person to person. And again, tonight, because he's specifically looking for clues following the bad vibes, I think he's like, okay, let's see, everyone that's having the worst possible night in this room, I'm going to go try to get in their business. I'm going to stick my paw in that cookie jar and see what slaps back.
I think, like, as you go amongst the patrons of this place, and you said that it's like it's tall, it's thin, it's quite tight and claustrophobic. I think as you weave your way through the crowd, you notice, because you can't quite help but notice, there is a very tall, thin person here. You see the back of them. They're wearing a kind of like a plain suit, with the jacket and the trousers, and it looks like they're wearing a hat, and they're kind of talking rather animatedly to someone in the corner, or actually several someones. I mean, just kind of, I guess, like with a drink in one hand, and then just kind of like gesturing animatedly with the other. And yeah, I mean, they cut a very strange figure because one, they're so tall, and because they're also very, very thin.
That sounds like exactly who I'm looking for. So I make a beeline directly towards that person and the argument they seem to be in.
And you hear like a very deep voice, um, from this person. It's directed to the people in front of them. It's like, and I don't know what he was talking about. He was fooling with those dice. So I had to get him to tell me the truth. And then out of nowhere, in the hand that's gesticulating, all of a sudden you see a knife. And I convinced him that the truth was the best way out.
Oh boy. Uh great. That was the tall, skinny, odd person. Yes.
Yes. You still see the back of them, right? Because I mean, like,
Yeah.
you're just coming up on this conversation, and the people that they're talking to, like, kind of look like, and then they're like, whoa, when the
Mhm.
knife comes out.
Yeah, I think that Doc inserts himself maybe kind of what's the word? Lays it on a little bit thick as far as how drunk he's acting. And just like, I'm sorry, folks. I know it's not nice to insert myself into a boodle that's busy talking and making deals and such, but I heard someone say dice, and I am a fan of a good game of dice. And so I thought that perhaps I could come over here. I'll tell you the truth. You know, I might be a little bit wobbly on my feet at this time of night, but I can't turn down a game. So why don't you offer me one?
The two people that were talking to this person, like, you know, they look shocked at the knife coming out, and then they look relieved when you like stumble over. And then the other person, the tall, thin person, like slowly turns around after they deliberately like flick the knife back to wherever it was in their sleeve, and then will deliberately turn to you and then doff their hat. You see a very tall, thin woman in a man's suit. Her hair's tied back, like in the style of a young man. And she just kind of gives you this smirk of, oh, you like dice, do you?
What can I say? I love a good risk. Doc's like looking up at this person.
Oh, okay. Like I wasn't sure like how tall Doc was.
I think I know that people were generally shorter in the 1800s. Like the trend has been for people to get taller. So I think Doc is a broad and maybe a bit taller than average, but you made this person sound like they were over 6 feet, and I think Doc is like maybe just 6 feet, maybe a bit shorter. So Doc's looking up a little bit.
Yeah, she definitely cuts quite the imposing figure for you. And she just again smiles as we cut over back to excuse me, Lord Campbell-Hughes and Whitmore. So you're in the catacombs, and well, Lord Campbell-Hughes, you just like to be poking around in different places, right? So it's not weird yet. So I'm gonna have you do an information move if you want.
Yep.
And
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah.
I think we were coming here for clues anyways.
Yes.
I will do that with reason.
And Whitmore, if you'd like to also investigate, you can totally do an information move as well, with reason, if that's how you're doing it. Or if you're getting more like, diggity with it, then you can always, roll with vitality.
Diggy with it is not something I think that is in Whitmore's vocabulary.
It's not really in mine either. I make up shit. Sorry. So yes, however you'd like to.
I was playing a pun off the word jiggy with it. Whitmore does not get jiggy.
What did you get?
I got a 2 and a 4 plus a 1 is a 7, but I'm gonna use a mask to bump it up.
Oh, okay. So then you're going to do a 10 plus. All right. So
through a different combination of numbers and bonuses, got a 7. I will not be using a mask to bump it up.
Okay. So out of curiosity, Lord Campbell-Hughes, which mask are you picking? Again, you have access to Mask of Penance, and also, of course, your Mask of the Past and Mask of the Future.
With the Explorer and his mask of the past are through the eyes of the boy. Is that the same when we do mask threats? Are they also done through the perspective of the boy?
Masks of the future. You're asking about Masks of the Future?
No, Mask of the Past.
Oh. Yes, you're like all of the Masks of the Past are pretty much your like through like telling it the story through the eyes of the boy.
But what about these threat masks? Are they
threat masks? I'm gonna say the threat. Hold on, let me just take a look at it. If you do the threat mask, just trying to see if it would be something that you could do through the eyes of the boy, or if it should be through you.
I'm kind of
No. You know what? No, I think this is more fitting. This is actually more fitting if it's through your eyes, through Lord Campbell-Hughes,
okay.
than the boy. Yeah. So
Then
are
I
you
think
picking-
what I'll do is I think I'll just do the first Mask of the Past.
okay. All right. Yeah, Mask of the Past you have to do in order. So yes. Okay, no problem. So Mask of Penance is still on the board. Okay. No, we don't. We have 2 more unseens before we end the night phase. Okay. So I just want to deal with Victor first, get him started, and then I'll come back to go back around after the 3rd unseen prompt. Okay, so Victor, yeah, you see something monstrous, like a monstrous silhouette behind the stained glass window, like as the lightning flashes. What do you do?
As the lightning flashes,
Mhm.
Victor would unsheath his axes, and yeah, I think he would make his way outside to see the monster is still there. At this point, kind of whistling himself a little jaunty tune as he makes his way out there, like just twirling his axes.
I'm gonna say, as you're making your way outside and not hiding yourself stealthily at all, I'm gonna say it's like, night move
Mhm.
for making it outside. I mean, you kind of saw it or like around the environs of Death Alley, okay, where
Yeah.
all the gravestones and such are. So
Mm,
yeah, go
okay.
ahead and do night move. Hold on. Let's go through that move. Night move. When you do something risky or face something you fear, name what you're afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve. How will it go wrong?
I'm afraid that Victor will just miss the chance to save someone from getting killed by the monster.
I'm going to say it's worse in that you will not only miss the chance, but the creature is deliberately doing it in front of you, whatever they do.
Nice.
Like waiting for you to get out there so then you can see, hey, that's what I got. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Mhm.
So you would roll this one with
I get composure since I'm not
Composure.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
composure.
All right. That is gonna be +0, so just a 9.
Okay. So 7 to 9, you hold steady, but there's a complication or a cost to keep or describe what it looked like. Okay. All right. So let's do the next unseen prompt. Again, the unseen prompt, if I haven't already said, is the timer for the night phase. Again, punchier and a lot more stuff happens. Excuse me, or can happen during night phase. Maud and the Davenport son, Alexander, both chafe under the expectations of their parents. As the meal draws to a close, how do we see this expressed in their conversation or petty acts of rebellion? Bob.
Okay. Is it within fair play for me to suggest something that also Doc will be doing as a part of it, like a thing that the 3 of them are going to do together? Because we're here, right?
I'm sorry?
Like we're here. Our characters are like at this dinner
No.
party. Right? Oh no. Oh,
No.
okay.
No, completely separate from the unseen is completely separate from Hunter's scenes. I mean, to tie them thematically, yes. I mean, you can mention like same movements or same smells or things happening, but again, completely separate.
Yeah. Oh boy, I misunderstood them.
I will say though, it's like if you say how a petty act of rebellion that they do is also something that Doc will do in his scene coming up, then that you get the echo of the night. So
Mhm.
that's an example of the echo of the night point that you get.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I don't know if that helps.
Kind of. I think that I'll just take the idea I had and take me out of it. It'll still be really cool. I think they're talking about near the end of the meal. It's not so much talking, they're both fidgeting a lot. Like they're both over this, they're both overhearing their parents like kind of backhanded compliments at like them, but like saying them to the other parents and like using Maud and what is the other child's name, Alexander, as like little chess pieces. And so they like drop both in a staggered fashion, drop a piece of silverware and ostensibly are like going to take it to the sink to leave it there to be cleaned later. But they actually both sneak outside and they like practice throwing the knives into like the fence in the backyard. Yeah, you can see why I think that's like how Doc was gonna be in that. And I mean, maybe we could like, because Wild West shows traveling England is definitely something that like I mean an explanation for Doc. So that could be something too. Like one of them read a good Western novel that they were able to like save up their allowance for. So they're trying to do like cool cowboy tricks like knife throwing.
Absolutely. All righty. Fabulous. Okay. So yeah, that leads us right back to you. And then you're staring this woman up, down,
Mhm.
and she's just kind of like, so you like dice, huh?
I'm not afeard of a good risk every now and again.
Oh. But is dice too tame? Do you know that game where we take, well, maybe it's better to show you than tell you. Go ahead. Put your hand on the bar. Spread your fingers out.
All right, that's fine. I'll do that. Doc does it.
Night move. What are
Cool.
you afraid will happen?
I mean, I'm afraid I'm gonna get stabbed in the hand. It feels like the thing that's at risk here. Unless, is the game structured such that if she stabs me in the hand, that I win?
I mean, we don't really know yet, do
Yeah,
we?
we don't know.
You're just taking the risk.
Well, yeah, so the two things that I'm afraid of are losing whatever game this is and getting stabbed in the hand. If those are the same thing, oh, even worse. If they're different things, we've got a good option for either way.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's going to be worse than that. I think she's going to pretty much like, as you put your hand down, I think that she may just like, re-whip out that knife that she had shown the other two, and then just like, play that little game of like going through your fingers and then just
Mhm.
seeing if she hits one of them
Oh yeah.
and slices it off. So yeah, that's
Oh, slices it so I lose a finger. That's a lot. Okay,
yep.
makes sense.
Okay, so you would roll definitely with composure.
Oh, good. 0. That's very good. Okay. Rolling it. Hey, look at me. Double digit dude over here.
Wow. All right.
I know how I extricate myself from this, by the way, if I get to say how I
Oh,
do it.
yeah. No, absolutely. Hold on a second. So is that with the okay, 0, right? So like
Yep.
that is a straight 10.
Just straight 10.
Perfect. Okay. So hold on. Let me just read over that move again, because I always tend to forget. So night move on a 10 plus, you do what you intended or you hold steady. Describe what it looks like. What does it look like?
Well, if my overall goal is to try to get some information about what's going on, I guess what I do is like I just don't flinch, right? Like I just don't flinch. Maybe I yawn, I like comically yawn and get everyone at the table like kind of like, oh, he's got you there. And yeah, I think I put her on her back foot by being just like so, steady handed. Whenever I need to extricate myself, though, I want to drop my bottle of coffin varnish on the ground. So I feel like this feels like the kind of conversation or night you need to force an exit on, right? Oh, I think you're muted.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense for sure. So yeah, so I mean, like, you you do your yawn, and then she's like, it's kind of actually a little impressed. She's actually a little impressed that you're just um not batting an eye or anything like that. Or she's actually now smirking because it's like, I think you're a little too drunk to have fun with.
Well, now, don't say that, ma'am. May I call you ma'am? I didn't mean to put you off that way.
Not a problem. If you really want some fun
I do.
later. Oh, there's time. There's always time. The name's Cobweb.
Cobweb, Doc Roy McBain. That's a very interesting sobriquet that you happen to have. May I ask where you got it?
She just kind of smiles and she will whip out the knife. But this one, she'll actually just kind of tenderly and gently, just kind of graze it along your cheek. Very suggestively, not cutting you, just kind of grazing it against your cheek, and then slightly tipping the point into your chin. Now, we just met.
All right. I'm a right decent man when you get down to it. I can take a hint.
I think we'll save the greater game for later. It was nice meeting you, though.
And you as well, Cobweb. I guess I hope I run into you in the future.
Absolutely. She flicks the knife back in, disappears into her sleeve, and then she doffs her hat, and then she can't disappear into the crowd. She's too damn tall. She's taller than everybody else. But she will just kind of give you that over the shoulder, smirk look, and then just head out into the night.
Very good. Yeah, I watch her hat bobbing kind of over the crowd.
Exactly.
That is an interesting lady. I'm talking to the rest of the people at the table now.
Yeah, they're all nodding very enthusiastically,
Yeah, this is great. She's a character. I've taken a real cotton to her. I'll tell you what. Scary as all get out, though, huh?
We're gonna head over to the catacombs. All right, so on a investigation for Lord Campbell-Hughes, who bumped his roll up to a 10 plus. Let me give you a happy clue. I think as you're searching, you're moving aside different things, perhaps, and then maybe you're actually shifting some of the panels on this wall that are around some of the remains, and you find, and again, that you can tell from the stuff that's been left that there's a weekly something going on, and you find behind some debris and behind some stones strategically placed, you find a basin of ichor, and it smells of pine and rose. That's your capital C clue. A basin of ichor smelling of pine and rose. And for Whitmore, for your 7, I think you've gone to the opposite end of the catacombs, perhaps maybe a little bit deeper, over by one of the other entryways. And you find stabbed into a wall, not the stone wall, but more of kind of the soft, smoothed dirt, kind of packed earth kind of place. You find what looks like it wasn't dropped there. It was placed there. It's an inverted cross. Do you try to move it? I mean, it's a physical cross. It's not like a picture of a cross or anything. It's an actual.
What does it look like the cross is made out of?
I'm going to say iron.
Before attempting to move it, Whitmore would at least call out, or not call out, would at least say, pesky things hung upside down. Loud enough for not necessarily it to echo, but for it to be clearly heard before shifting and attempting to rotate the cross so that it was right way up.
It goes, you turn it, and it goes right side up. But then as you watch, it ticks back to its original position.
When you say ticks, is that a
Like you can hear
literal,
the
it sounds,
it's like a little grinding of the iron against the earth.
okay, not a mechanical ticking.
No, not a mechanical ticking.
Okay. Whitmore would at the very least attempt to do it, attempt to fix it one more time.
Goes right back to its position.
It would be then, Whitmore would then look towards the ground to see if a nail or something else had fallen out from this cross to better fix it.
Do you try to remove it from the?
That was the next step of remove it. Better to have it not hung upside down than to have it, or better to have it on the floor than hung upside down. Yep.
Yeah, you
no,
don't see a nail, and it's like it's yeah.
Whitmore would remove it from the wall, and if nothing interrupts him, attempt to place it on a horizontal surface.
As you do this, I think you glance back up to where it was,
Mhm.
and it's back in its inverted position.
What is in my hand?
Nothing. Goes right back to where it was in its original position. How do you feel?
Confounded, as though God were playing a trick. There is a devil afoot.
And then Victor. Okay. So you got
Partial.
okay. All right. So I think you got out there. And the silhouette that you saw illuminated by the lightning is now deeper into Death Alley with all the gravestones and like the mausoleum type statuary things and what have you. And it's kind of like looking back, and you see its faces, and you see it's like split form, because I mean, like, of what it's made of and such. And if stone could ripple, you could see the musculature as the rain starts to come down, and it's like kind of hitting the stone that it's made out of, and it's like it's soaking into itself, like the gray is turning into like dark shadowy black as it gets like wet and soaked, and some of it's starting to rivel it off, and drip off as it seems to have somebody in its hand. It seems to have somebody in its arms as it's making its way through the graveyard. What do you do?
Victor would go, "Hey, over here. You have something. Monster. Gargoyle. I don't know your name."
And it will turn back to look at you with eyes that are deep and black in its sockets. But there's some sort of like glowing light deep within. And then it will fully turn towards you, and you see its bulk, and you see it's one face, and it's like the serpent face and everything. And like it kind of shoves whatever it had in its hand, and then just kind of like tosses it off to the side behind one of the big mausoleum stones. And then will approach you, and you can hear the grinding and the thud of it coming towards you. And the human part of its face smiles, and as it smiles, it's fountaining out this weird sparkling water into the rain. And you can see it talking. And you can't really tell what it's trying to say at the moment. It's almost like it's practicing to talk, but doesn't quite have the words yet, like wordless.
I normally ask which one of your limbs you would prefer to keep, but your anatomy seems a little different than others I've seen before. So I was a little disappointed. I fully thought that you were going to be in the catacombs. I was going to really miss out, but it's good that you stayed topside. Victor, yeah, I think Victor would just rush in with both hatchets and will. I don't think this is for the purposes of. It's like when you first start a boxing match and you want to like feel them out, so it's not like 100% in yet. Part of it is just seeing its initial instincts, like how it reacts to certain ways of being attacked. Like what are its habits, if any?
It will make like it's going to rush at you. But then what it does is like it starts in its path, like it kind of scoops up one of the gravestones in its wake, and it will start to throw it at you.
Ooh, projectiles. Good, good. A little interesting.
So night move.
Yeah. I am afraid that this creature will. Yeah, I think I'm afraid that like I don't think he's afraid of like die. I think he's afraid of like losing one arm to this because he's not really like going full hard, just like losing an arm or like injuring it deeply. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's going to happen is that it's going to be worse, that it will engage with you enough that after distracting you with the first throw, it's going to close the distance and it's going to break your arms.
Yeah.
It's going to break you in some way. So yeah, definitely roll with vitality for sure. Oh my goodness.
Gotcha.
Oh wait, let me look at your conditions. What are your conditions? Marked by Cyrus? No, I mean like that won't affect your roll. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Vitality sounds good. That is gonna be 6 + 4 + 2 is a 12.
So with a 12, yeah. You do what you intended and you hold steady. Keeper will tell you some extra benefit or advantage you receive. Okay. So I want you to describe to me what you do to engage the gargoyle. However, remember that you have not answered that resolving the threat question yet. So you cannot, you can't completely take it out.
So I think what happens is as it throws the headstone, Victor kind of just jumps up and just shatters the stone with his armored boots. And as the rocks fall around him, he rushes into the creature and then just like rushes out again. And it's basically just like kiting this creature around the graveyard, getting some hits in here and there, like feeling out the weak points in the stone. We see sparks appear as they like clash throughout the graveyard. And eventually, Victor will like hide behind a grave. The creature smashes it, and as Victor tries to make eye contact with the creature again, the creature has disappeared.
And I think as you make your way around your hiding place and you watch the retreat of the creature, you notice it has dropped something. And it looks like in the very distant light of, I mean, like, do your hereditary weapons glow in any way or like shed any light, like when they're engaged?
Um,
Out of curiosity, I mean, like, they don't have to, of course,
yeah,
but
yeah. I don't think it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Probably later when I decide like what its other abilities are. When I like when it's like the weakness for the monsters and whatever.
sure.
But especially right now, since like it was mostly just like a survey of like the fighting style of the creature, I don't think they would really engage for that.
Sure. Okay. Well, I think this is big enough that you would notice that it was not there before in the middle of your fight, and
Mhm.
there's no place that it would have come from. There's a stone.
Mm.
Like it's kind of like oval, and it's raised. So like I can't remember the term for it. I want to say beveled, but I'm not sure if that's it. So it's like
Okay.
flat on the side and like on the back, but then it's like kind of like domed on top of it, and it's
Okay.
again oval-esque. Like it looked like it would fit in your hand.
Yeah.
Do you pick it up?
Yeah.
When you pick it up,
Mhm.
it glows a deep crimson,
Ooh.
illuminating your palm and your face as you look at it. That is
Now
your
thi-
capital C clue, your benefit for getting the 12. A
Nice.
stone that glows crimson when held in your palm. Okay.
Ooh.
And
All
we
right,
shall
sounds
go
good.
to our remaining unseen. So, Daniel, Mr. Davenport and Mr. Taylor withdraw into Taylor's study for port and cigars. Alone, how do they expose the vices they hide from society to one another?
As they have these lit cigars, they're blowing the heavy cigar smoke towards the shut door. And Mr. Davenport looks over and says, Eric, do you have the lamp? And Mr. Taylor says, of course. And out of a case, he takes this shallow oil lamp and sets it between them on a small table. And it takes a slender black candle and lights the lamp as Mr. Davenport pulls out this flute-like pipe from his jacket. It's long and thin, and packs it with some opium paste and puts it over the lamp that Mr. Taylor has lit between them. And they pass this slender pipe back and forth, alternating between cigar puffs to the door and then opium hits between the two.
Doc, as you close out here, do you want to do like one more thing while you're here? Or will you be making your way back to Hargrave House?
Well, part of what I was attempting to do, well, like,
And you also still have to
kicking
give me a
around.
clue.
Yes, I have a clue all ready to go. So
Okay.
I was thinking maybe I could do a gather information roll to represent me spending the rest of the night pulling at this table that I'm sitting at for information. Like what's going on around here? What's everyone worried about? What are the strange happenings?
So, I mean, are you you're using presence to talk to everybody? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
That's the idea.
So go ahead and roll. Like you've got marked with Kenny and
Secret Keeper.
Secret Keeper. Yeah. Okay.
That's Kenny's thing.
I don't think it'll affect. I don't think it'll affect your presence any. It's not like
All
you're
right.
trying to hide anything from them, and then I don't think you're going to bring up his thing in conversation. So
That's how I start. So there's this kid I met the other day. He was an unattended child, and I made him do work for me. No. Okay, what is that? Presence is 1. That's a 10. I'm hitting it tonight. I'm on it.
And there's going to be some nights that you may not be on it. So just enjoy this
I'm
now.
just glad
and
I glad
savor
I
it
got
now.
one. I'm glad I'm getting at
Savor it
least one,
now.
because like I could be dead tomorrow. Who
That's
knows?
true. That's true. Very true. Okay. Information move. Okay. On a hit, let's see. Yeah. You find a clue. Keeper will tell you what it is. Okay. So I think as you're talking with these people, and they kind of do know what's been going on with like Saint Cecilia's. They've heard the rumors and unfortunately knew about the bodies. Yeah, they talk about the the scuttlebutt that they've heard from some of the parishioners, and what they tell you is about a disagreement overheard between Father O'Donnell and the bishop, Father Viceroy, about religious beliefs. So Father Viceroy is like, we should open up the church. We need to get the cathedral going again. Just delaying by any means just means that there's no congregation to hear the word. And then there's Father O'Donnell, of course, like arguing. It's like, people have died, we need to get this investigated and taken care of before anybody else gets hurt and all this kind of stuff. But one of the things that the folks tell you as part of the scuttlebutt is that there's rumor of the bishop skimming from the top, skimming from the tide. So
Very good. Do you want the other clue?
that, yeah, what's the other clue? And you can go ahead and put that in the
Perfect.
the threat box. Yep.
Yes. I think it lines up perfectly. So they're telling me this. I'm picking up on this. And now I'm in the phase where I just kind of want to get to going, but like I'm stuck a little bit with these people. And then I notice out of the corner of my eye, in the corner of a room, in the corner of the room, like a very disheveled and drunken priest. The concept, the player, am thinking of is like the person who is an expert in demonology and exorcism within the church, but like immediately as soon as something actually happens, is like everyone's like, you're a conspiracy theorist, get out of here. And they're like, no, I think something within my field of expertise is happening. So he's in great turmoil. And especially after hearing this too, I'm like, oh, that's my guy. That's a big like sore thumb clue sticking in the air. So to kind of cut these people off and get out quickly, what I do is I like move my hand purposefully, but it appears clumsily, to knock over the bottle of coffin varnish, which I know is mostly done. So I'm not like, I can make it out to LA by finding another empty bottle that they can use. But there's a little bit, like, this is my image, this is my echo of the night. It contrasts with the explosion of an entire bottle of red wine that seems both like blood and also bountiful, right? A whole bottle of red wine is like, it can cover an entire room if it hits in the right angle. The splash can go for a while. And this is just like a little spot, like a splatter from if you got like cut and the flung the blood, it's like this deep, dark, sticky brown, upsetting looking substance. And as opposed to, again, like this splash of lifeblood, it's more of like somebody sliced a dead man. And then I go over and I like cajole the drunken priest, and he's already so drunk that I just kind of like, I try to pull some information out of him. He's too drunk to talk, but he mentions he's like his books, like all my books, they all talk about this. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's great, bud. Hey, here, you're looking not too great. Let me get you outside. The patrons, I'm like, or the bar guy, I'm like, hey, old boy here's had a little bit too much. I'm gonna make sure he doesn't make a mess on your floor. And I get him out there and I just like steal a book out of his clothes, not like meanly, but there's like a little book bound in leather with like strange writing on it. I think it's like a ultra esoteric text that maybe even is challenging for people that are experts to read. And I just take it and then I sit him down outside because he's basically passed out. So I sit him against the back wall so he's not lying down, and go, I promise I'm going to make this up to you, Padre, but you got to hold your liquor better. I'll catch you on the other side.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so go ahead and put your book clue into the threat tab. All right. And then
I need a thing, right? Also from Whitmore for my personal
yes.
quarters.
Yes.
Cool.
if you have that
If you
ready,
would,
go ahead.
if you would like that, I would like to ask Doc one question before assigning this.
All right.
Um, I came up with a couple based on just your interactions at this tavern. I guess saloon would probably be a better phrase, but
Mhm.
would you prefer something else to drink or something else to play with?
Something to play with, please.
And then for that something else to play with, is playing with this going to get you killed?
It wouldn't be fun if it didn't.
Perfect. It's a set of loaded dice from a dice game gone horribly wrong, to the point that these ivory dice are still covered in the blood of its
Wow.
previous owner.
Great.
I will post the
Oh.
text of the other options in Zoom.
Very
Wow.
cool.
That's
Bloodstained
amazing.
loaded dice.
Throw
Yeah,
that in your
that's-
personal quarters. Holy shit, that's amazing.
I got a lot of good stuff to write down.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry. So let's flip over back to Lord Campbell-Hughes and Whitmore. Okay, so Whitmore's like, sufficiently creeped out or confounded, as he said, devil's on the devil's trick. And Lord Campbell-Hughes, I mean, like, yeah, you pull out this basin filled with this stuff, but it's doesn't smell bad. It's just looks horrific. So what do you two want to do now? Or do you head back to Hargrave House with your finds?
Yeah, I think from what we've discovered here, Whitmore, we're dealing with something far more sinister than a simple gargoyle gone awry. What we have here is the darkness that keeps being drawn to our beloved city of London. And this darkness has infested the very walls of this cathedral. And I must warn you, when we proceed with this St. Cecilia's tribulations, we are walking amongst the demonic. Let's go back to Hargrave House.
Ordinarily, I would agree with you, Lord Campbell-Hughes, but there's one stop I'd like to make first, if you don't mind.
You're on your time. I'll see you in the morning.
Whitmore would pack up the bags and probably take the sledgehammer and try and put that in the bag too, to carry it around for Lord Campbell-Hughes, and head upstairs into the cathedral. I assume that there is an altar for the dead inside the cathedral. Whitmore would like to light a candle, and if possible, collect a set of rosary, just to simply put on for just a moment, and to pray for Lord Campbell-Hughes' safety. And then in the waning moments of prayer, remember his own. Before putting the rosary down, looking up at the cross, the right way up. I will see you on Sunday, before exiting the cathedral.
You don't see it as you exit Whitmore, but after you leave and the door clicks closed, one of the statues of Mother Mary will cry bloody tears, and the torches that are lit violently flicker. Victor, you're out in Death Alley among the gravestones and holding on to this red glowing stone. If you put it down, it will stop glowing and revert back to its unlit state. But yeah, do you head back to Hargrave House or do you do something here?
I think The only other thing Victor would like to do here is see whatever it was that the gargoyle like tossed aside before they began fighting.
Yeah, this isn't a capital C clue. But I think what you see it had, pushed aside was essentially that body that you saw hanging from the rooftop. It's now in the graveyard. It looked like it was going to be taking it away for whatever reason. But yeah, it's here now.
Yeah, I think Victor looks at the body of the dead man, does like a quick cursory inspection of them just to see if there's anything else he could pick up from it.
All you can tell is that, like, it's got the same robes
Yeah.
as the deacons. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just kind of just like moving the head around a bit. And Victor will just say, well, at least this monster cleans up after itself. That's always nice. And we'll just leave the body there and make his way back to Harvey House.
All right. So we close out of night phase. Let's go on to the dawn. All right. So for dawn phase, sorry, I gotta scroll down. All right. So no threat was resolved. And then this is where we go to dawn questions. Excuse me. So we'll start left to right. American, Doc, did you answer a question? Yes. So that was from last session. So go ahead and click that. Did you resolve a threat? No. Did you experience an echo in the night? Which you did mention very thoroughly. So go ahead. Did you encourage a fellow hunter to let loose for a change?
I don't think so.
Okay. Did you stick out in London society for all the wrong reasons? I'm gonna say yes.
I think you can make the case that I did.
Sure. So you would take those 3 XP points, put them on your XP track, and then clear your dawn questions, your check marks. And then if you want to, you can choose to pick new dawn questions for next time. All right. Lord James Campbell-Hughes. Did you answer a question? Yes. Hunters resolve a threat? No. Did you experience an echo in the night?
Yeah, the black candle in the
Yes.
catacombs.
Yep.
Was the Davenport.
Perfect. Did you leverage your social status to gain the upper hand?
Yes, to get to the mastermind, I flung those shillings to scatter the beggars out of the way.
Nice. All right, go ahead. Take that. Did you deliver a chilling, dead-eyed monologue about the horrors of the world?
I tried a couple times with Sir Anthony, and then right then with Whitmore.
Yeah. Go ahead and take the point. So mark 4 on your XP track and then clear your dawn questions and then choose 2 new ones if you'd like. Whitmore. All right. Answered a question. Yes. Resolve a threat. No. Did you experience an echo in the night?
I'm not entirely sure that I did.
It's hard because it's like you have to try to remember to write down what you said, like look at everybody else's stuff and then try to pull it into your hunter scene. Believe me, I know. So, no worries. Did you have a scene showing your secret private life in London? I'm going to say yes, you just did. Showing what you did in the cathedral. Nice. Did you ensure your employer got credit for your triumphs?
I do not believe that I did.
Okay, so go ahead and take those 2 XP, clear your dawn questions, and then go ahead and pick new dawn questions if you like. And then Victor. All right. Answered a question? Yes. Resolve a threat? No. Did you experience an echo in the night?
Yes, I played piano, like the daughter did.
Nice. Okay, great. So go ahead and take that. Did you revel in the thrill of the hunt?
Yeah, when I was chasing down the roof runner.
You had so much fun with that. Yeah. And then also when you were
tonight. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. So you're gonna take that point. Okay. And then did you taste someone or something else's blood, sweat, or other bodily fluids? I think you did with Cyrus. Didn't you do something with Cyrus?
You did in the
intro scene. I was washing off blood.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think you got 4. All right. And then you can again go ahead and pick new dawn questions. All right. So since we are in the middle of a session right now. It's like we're going to go ahead and take our break. This will be a 10-minute break to the 23 mark. And when we return, we will start day phase anew, which means you guys can engage the vulnerable move. I will introduce a new threat. Woohoo! And yeah, okay.
Could I do a mask and a dawn phase?
Oh yes, absolutely. Do you want to
Mhm.
go ahead and do it that now, or do you want to
No,
wait?
I'll do it after the break if that's okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
Same here. Yeah, I
All
do
right.
have a mask also.
All right, wonderful. Okay, see you in 10. All right, so we're going to have the players narrate the Janus masks that they pulled last time for going into day phase. All right, so whoever wants to go first. Oh, and read the prompt first, and then go ahead and narrate the mask.
Is it okay if I go, Paul? So the explorer's masks are a little different because they're not masks from his memory or from his perspective, but instead, I'll read you the prompt. The explorer's mask of the past tells the story of a young man called the Boy, whose village was occupied for a time by the explorer and their expeditionary forces. And so the first one is narrate a flashback to the first time when the explorer first arrived in your village. Was it a joyous moment? Was there something ominous about it? And so that's what I'll do. And this is, like I said, from the voice of the boy. It was the eve of the Beltane festival when the Duke of Kent first arrived in our village of Cassarax. I remember it clearly because we were stringing up fronds of the serpent bindweed so they would reflect the lights of the festival. That's when he and his party of mortals entered our lives, and at the time, it was a joyous sign because back then we saw mortals as the quickling spirits of the rebirth, and it coincided with the festival. The half-giant, Sledge Grandor, escorted them, so we believed Lord James could be trusted. We ignored the ominous rumors that at the time the half-giant had joined the Unseelie court, mostly because Sledge was a hero of our people. So we overlooked these rumors. But in hindsight, we should have listened.
For the legacies mask, it is narrate a flashback to your childhood that shows the first hunt you went on and what about it disturbed you. So we see a cut to kind of like a heavy wooden table with a probably like 13, 14-year-old Victor. He looks very different. So like muscular but gangly, shaved head, and just listening closely to this person talking to him. We see a man, long hair, very well-trimmed beard, goes, so your mission will be to join up with the other scions of the other houses and be wards of this village for a time. You and the other children, and then Victor pipes up, Father, I am 14. And father will turn around and be like, oh, God, teenagers. You and the other scions will be wards of this village for a time. And at a certain point, a creature will show up for a hunt. You and the other scions must be ready for when this happens, and you will be tasked to take it down. And then Victor just nods. And then we see this old lady talking to this Victor. Now, Victor's just wearing regular clothing from someone from like the countryside. It's like a very small, quaint village. And the old lady's just like, you and the other children have been such helps. Everyone in this village has been so glad to have you here. And we see Victor looking at this person. It goes from that scene, just a kindly old woman, and then the scene cuts to a much redder, darker scene. We see this woman's head is there for a moment and is just gone, as something gets whipped across. And we see the other scions. There is one with like a long sword. There's like a girl that's much bigger, much more muscular for her age, and one that seems to be observing from afar. And Victor just avoiding these like tentacles. It's like chimera, but one of flesh. And he just sees villager after villager go down. And we see one of the scions try to save a villager and also die in the process. And then it cuts again. It's Victor and the two other scions. And his father and two other older family members show up from other families. And Victor's father goes, "What did you learn, son?" And Victor goes, "We needed the villagers. If they weren't there to distract the monster, then we would have died." Father goes, "Yes. At all costs, son. At all costs." And from this scene, what really disturbed Victor was how fragile people like them were. People who weren't like them were. How different he actually is from everyone else, that he isn't like a normal person, whether he decided that or not. He's disturbed by how strong these creatures are, even though he is different from others. He and his companions had to fight tooth and nail just to survive. And he is disturbed that it was the biggest thrill of his life so far, this hunt.
And we will now enter day phase again. All right. Going to go ahead and introduce the threat, and then we will engage with what you guys want to do. So, this morning, a young man arrived on your doorstep with his eyes swollen shut and face covered in fresh, unsightly cuts and bruises. He identifies himself as Bram Fuller, and also, apprehensively, as a member of Bout Club, an underground fighting ring for working-class men. Bram is concerned about a new member of the club, a freakishly strong fighter the men have taken to calling the Shoreditch Slugger. Since his induction to the club several weeks ago, the Slugger has not once lost a bout. He has also left a ghastly trail of broken limbs and even deaths in his wake. 2 days ago, a young railway construction laborer named Phineas Bird died at his hands. The other fighters, not to be outdone, have taken the Slugger's seeming invulnerability as a challenge. In short, the brutality of the fights has greatly escalated since the Slugger's arrival. Bram finds the Slugger's indomitable prowess odd, and though he won't outright admit it, frightening. He's heard that Hargrave House has experience dealing with unusual types, and hopes you will see fit to run the Slugger out of London, or at least out of Bout Club. You are on the verge of turning Bram away, thinking that he has vastly misunderstood what Hargrave House does, when he stammers out a detail that makes you certain that there is a supernatural threat here after all. From the sound of it, you will need to determine how the Slugger came by his superhuman strength, or at the very least, find a chink in his proverbial armor, in order to take him on and stop this Bout Club business from growing out of control. So let me see who has the highest vitality here. Looks like Victor. All right. What detail, Victor, does Bram add that convinces you that the Shoreditch Slugger is siphoning his strength from a supernatural source? What detail?
I think something that happens whenever the Shoreditch Slugger fights is his body gets so hot that steam seems to rise off of it when he fights.
Okay. So, due to its highly secretive and illegal nature, Bout Club frequently changes venues. Bram helpfully provides you the address of the club's next midnight meeting, a church construction site in Whitechapel. Okay. So, your first question for this is, what is the source of the Shoreditch Slugger's superhuman strength? That is a complexity 2. So, the slugger's power cannot be taken away completely, but the hunters can steal some of it for themselves. Subvert this source for your own use through thievery or ritual and gain access to the custom move Eternal Man. Okay, so that is a question that you can answer to get some benefit. You now know that there is another Bout Club meeting tonight at midnight at the church construction site in Whitechapel, but you still have the gargoyle to deal with as well. So this pressure cooker of dealing with threats starts to build, especially once you have 3 active threats on the table. Okay, so we are now in day phase. So let me go ahead and just double check.
And is that a threshold question, or is it just like one of the extra?
I mean, I can't tell from here. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a threshold question. Like you have to answer this first before you get the next one. So, I mean, I'm good with going to showing you the threat resolve question. So I think, yeah, I mean, this first question gets you access to the custom move Eternal Man,
Okay.
but it doesn't seem like, you need to answer it first before you get the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and just open that up. So the next question is the resolving the threat question is, boop, what is the Shoreditch Slugger's weakness? Okay, this is a complexity 6, and you need to resolve the threat by exploiting this knowledge to destroy him or convince him through defeat or humiliation to retire from Bout Club and into obscurity. Okay, so again, you don't need to answer the first question to get to the second one. I mean, conceivably, you could even answer them concurrently if you want, if you gather enough clues. Okay, so but you can only resolve the threat by answering that second question. Day phase opens up. You can commence regular scenes, and what this means is you can investigate, you can go about London, and you can also now enact the vulnerable move. The vulnerable move, let me read that off. When you have an intimate moment with another hunter, while one of you is engaged in your vice, you may clear an appropriate condition. If it's your vice, you can also stumble on a clue. You tell the keeper what it is. And of course, the clue cannot conclusively answer a question by itself. Or you invite the other hunter to ask you about your past. You must answer truthfully, but not necessarily completely. Okay, so that's your choice. That's your option for the vulnerable move if it is your vice. All right, so you can go ahead and pair up. Yes. So just to clarify, it is an intimate scene, does not have to be sexual, between 2 hunters. Okay, so like if another hunter's in the mix, it doesn't really count because it's not really like as intimate. However, if it calls for it, you could conceivably have a side character present. There's a situation where like somebody's vice was flogging, and so she engaged the other hunter by having him flog the side character for her. I know it's weird, but I mean, this is just an example. All right. But again, look at your vices, see how you want to pair up, like whose vice you want to engage in and how you want to pair up. And then, we can start the day phase with vulnerable scenes. Okay.
Just a clarification question.
Sure.
Because as the Factotum, I can only request a scene with
You are.
my employer.
Correct. But that does not stop any of the other hunters from engaging in a vulnerable move with you. They just have to be the ones to request it.
That was the point of clarification. If someone
Yes.
else requests with me, would
That's
I
fine.
also clear a condition?
Yes. Like, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the hunters involved in the vulnerable move would be clearing a condition.
Mhm.
If appropriate. I will say in
Yes.
certain situations, it's like, maybe you didn't really clear it, like it wasn't relevant enough to be able to clear. So that has happened as well. All right. So, yeah, the whole point of the vulnerable move is to clear a condition, but we'll see. Okay. It's as how I had delineated it in the first place, which was one hunter engages in their vice with another hunter present. And then at an appropriate point, like we'll stop and then I'll go to the other scene, and then we'll come back and then see if you cleared conditions and which option you want to take if your vice was in play. Okay. And then go back to the other scene and then do the same thing.
I will go last unless someone else, just because I have to request one with Lord Campbell. So if someone wants to do one with me, speak now or forever hold your peas.
Doc, you spoke, but I can't hear you.
Great. Thank you. Sorry, my dogs were barking very loudly. I just out of instinct turned it up. The thing I said was I was going to ask Victor if he wanted to box with Doc, but hearing that Whitmore can only do a vulnerable scene when it's requested by someone else, I would also be totally down to force Whitmore to come out drinking with Doc to celebrate how well his night of drinking just went. Does that sound good? I'm seeing a thumbs up from yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, that's what I think would be good. I want to grab Whitmore and be like, "You wouldn't believe the night I had. I gotta go out drinking to celebrate."
I think it would be funny if after you go out drinking, you get pulled by Victor to do something else also.
Oh, great. Yeah. Double drunk and boxing with Victor sounds lovely.
And then Lord James is like, I've got this gin.
Oh no!
Yeah, do some more drinking.
It's the morning of drinking.
I'll have
Holy
to
shit.
Hammered.
I'll have to not take actions for a phase. It only feels right if I do
Oh,
3.
or I'm just gonna be drunken, and then that's going to affect your roll
Yeah.
for the quickening. I don't know about that, man. I know you're popular, but geez.
Yeah, I don't want to risk anything on the quickening. I spent all that effort making sure I have advantage on the next one. I don't want to put that in jeopardy.
Yeah. So start with one
Yeah.
one vulnerable scene each, please. Just so
Yeah.
two two pairings, and then we'll move on.
That sounds very good. Narratively, Victor can still punch me though.
So can I do one with Victor then? If
Sure. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and I'm gonna let Doc rest a little bit before he goes out drinking again. So Lord Campbell-Hughes and Victor, whose vice is being engaged?
But Whitmore's still going to get a scene though, right? I don't want to. If somebody's inviting, did you just say that Doc's not going to go drinking with Whitmore?
He will, but I mean, I want to give him just a slight rest first. So
Okay,
you two can go first.
Yeah, I'm okay just doing one vulnerable move scene for the day phase. So I'll just do one with
Yeah. I mean, I know basically day phase can be completely about vulnerable moves, but really it should be only 2 pairings at most. So this way it's you each have a chance to clear a condition, and then we move on to investigations.
And what's your vice? What's Victor's vice?
Hitting stuff.
And that could be reinterpreted. I just want to say, I mean, hitting the bottle. I mean, something. I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
What do you want to do, Paul?
What's your...
so it's easy.
Oh yeah, this is Jen. That's easy. Yeah.
So this would be probably in a study in Hargrave House, and it's probably after we've eaten breakfast, and I'm asking you to stop by for a debrief. I want to know how it went last night with the gargoyle. That's what the meeting's about.
Yeah. So We are in, I guess, in the middle of it. We hear like the clinking of glasses as we have some gin. And Victor, way too specifically, will just go, well, if you go at it towards the left side, you have about like a 1.5 second window towards the bottom to really get at it. Besides that, from behind, you're dead. From the front, also dead. Projectiles. Wait, are we doing this from my perspective with my physical abilities or from your physical abilities?
Did you hurt the creature is what I'm asking you.
Oh no, I just had some fun last night.
Have you, I Lord James takes out this, he's got this watch, like a pocket watch, and it's worn, and he opens it and then closes, opens, closes. But in the past, have you fought a creature such as this in the past?
Not one made out of stone. I have fought chimera of its shape, not exactly its shape, but kind of like a mishmash of different creatures into one. It's difficult because you expect them to move certain ways, but due to the combination of anatomies, they move in ways that are erratic, and that's when they're the most dangerous.
So it sounds like to me, Mr. Armstrong, that you learned from your errors in the past, and you apply them to the future. Is that what to future foes?
Yes. Well, it's good to learn from experience. Those who don't are usually dead. I assume you do the same on your travels. You probably come back with more men every time you come back, right? Or is it kind of just like less men? You come back with less men every time?
It's less men, Mr. Armstrong.
Why?
Well, the world's a dangerous place. Here in civilization, we're basically safe, and we're at the center of civilization. But as you know, when you get off the beaten path and the nooks and crannies of the world, darkness lurks there.
That's true. Yes, men seem to never be in short supply. There always seems to be casualties whenever we face off with dangers such as this. Someone you could meet on the street, roof runners, street urchins. Many of them will probably perish by the time we are finished with this creature.
There's one that won't.
Who?
Oh, nothing. Let's.
Whoa, no, wait.
Let's
back up.
Let's
There's
have a toast.
one that
Let's have a toast for this. Let's have a toast for this.
I hear that line
Gargoyle's demise.
as a monster hunter. You hear that line constantly. We're gonna roll past. Okay, we're gonna roll past. Okay, we're gonna roll past it. All right. I'll give you yours if you give me mine. If I'll give you mine if you give me yours.
Oh, you're what?
My one.
No,
the
instead, I really would like to make a toast to
All
the
right.
demise of this gargoyle. If you would join me in this, let's toast this beast demise to the death of the Saint Celia gargoyle.
At any cost that it may take.
That's an appropriate place to cut. All right, so let's look at conditions. So, Victor, you have marked by Cyrus. And what do you think?
The only thing I tried to mention was Victor doesn't really care if any sort of like roof runners or urchins will get in trouble by this. So that was me kind of like, yeah, like I could be marked by Cyrus, but he isn't really gonna be very put off if Cyrus is gonna show up dead next time he goes to the cathedral.
Sure, sure.
Mhm.
And then, Lord Campbell-Hughes, old times.
Yeah, that's why I was looking at the watch and
Mhm.
thinking about the
Mm.
past and asking him, does he learn from the past? That's what I was getting at.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Excuse me. So go ahead and clear those conditions. And since we were using your vice, Lord Campbell-Hughes, you have the choice of either inviting Victor to ask you a question about your past, which you can answer answer truthfully, but not necessarily completely, or you can stumble upon a clue and tell me what it is. What would you think about that? And then we're going to go over to the other scene. All right. So, Doc, you had some interesting adventures and talks last night, and you're sleeping off your varnish. Now, you said you're not much of a late sleeper anyway. Does that
yeah.
also apply when you drink?
Mhm.
Okay.
And last night wasn't like, let's see, to use the parlance of one of these slang terms, the brick in my hat last night, not terribly heavy, all things considered.
Okay. So I think in that case, it's like, if you're like up relatively early, you probably see Whitmore going about his business. So what do you do?
I wave him down. Whitmore, come over here if you don't mind. This darn house is so big, I haven't seen anybody all morning, and I've been waiting to tell somebody about my night.
Of course, Doc. Is this the sort of evening I should get a pen and paper for, or more of a zipped lip sort of story?
My good friend, I prefer to thread the line directly between those two sentiments the best I can. You know what, though? It feels like something worth celebrating. This is going to sound wild, but why don't you come out with me? I got a place I like to go after a real good day where everything goes my way. Try to keep it riding on to the next.
It is barely 8 in the morning, and you suggest we partake in some of the devil's drink.
Just a dash here or there, and frankly, I'm not in as sorry shape as I've been before. Not near so much as that, but little hair of the dog should keep me peppier than peppy.
That is
There's a logic to it.
one way of looking at it. All right, one drink won't kill anyone. It better not kill anyone.
I'm sure it won't kill either of us.
That's not what I said.
Come on.
Whitmore would follow.
I think we make it down to another one of Doc's standard plays. It's probably not the same one from last night, but perhaps one of these not so reputable like saloons, as it were. But this one opens up to the actual street, so it's measures nicer than the claustrophobic and perhaps terrible by some measure place I was last night. And we grab a table. We grab seats at the bar. Doc shoos you in there. Makes a signal at the bartender, who begins to work because, of course, knows exactly what Roy wants, especially at this time of the day. Anywho, Whitmore, while we're getting things together at the bar, what have you been up to last couple of days? I know we've all been kind of working on this project.
Oh, the usual odds and ends throughout Hargrave House. The books need upkeeping, both literally in the library and metaphorically in the coffers. The kitchen needed a good dusting and reorganization. The summer meats are coming in. I invited or hosted a well-known or I guess well known is the wrong word, shady individual in the library for an odd round of questions and answers. Victor's knives needed sharpening because he keeps leaving nicks in them. The usual.
Whitmore, and I don't mean any offense by this when I say it. It's just an observation, and that's what I do. I observe what's going on around me, and I attempt to engage with it. We're hunting some sort of monster through the streets of London, and you spent all day yesterday scrubbing the kitchen and dusting the books and sharpening Victor's knives. I guess makes sense. I guess that adds up. That Victor, sharper his stuff is, the better we're all doing. That sounds like a normal day, and I can't imagine it.
Can't imagine it, or can't imagine partaking in something so glorious.
All right.
The simple mundane. If you weren't here in London, back home on, I don't know, farm, homestead,
The
small
range.
shack in the woods, the range. If you were back home on the range, what would you be doing on an ordinary Tuesday when there weren't monsters about?
Huh. Up at sunset every day. No telling where we'd be heading that day, but one city to the next is similar kind of landscape in a lot of a lot of parts of the states. Whitmore, it occurs to me, I've had the opportunity to chat with Victor. I can't say I've spent much time with Lord Hughes, but you strike me as a different sort of fellow. You remind me of one of the fellas that I was riding with back then. He was always real quiet. He stuck to the back of our wagon tray. I've lost my word for that. He always stuck to the back of our line as we were riding where we were going. And so I've met many a silent type in my travels, and more often than not, the reason that they don't have much to say is because there's nothing going on up here worth saying. But this guy, I took a cotton to him because you could tell that wasn't the case. He was always keeping an eye on things. He was thinking, staying ready for stuff as it was bound to happen. You remind me of that guy. There was this one time that we split out before we finished our show. We were supposed to do another day, but we got a better deal wired to us right before, or rather right at the end of the night show before. And we made the group decision to split out. We figured we'd be far enough away from that town before they realized we were gone that they wouldn't be able to get a hold of us, and we get to keep all that money and get onto an even better paying gig down the road. And that friend of mine that I used to ride with sat as quiet as ever. But that next morning, when we were about halfway to where we were going, we had made miles from the town that we were supposed to be performing in, that we had bailed out on. But woke up at sunset, started doing my my duty with Calliope, get bit, get kicked, feed her some oats. And I realized that my friend had split in the middle of the night. And, sometimes stuff happens in life that's just perplexing. There's not two ways about it. And that was one of those moments for me. I didn't get it. I liked that guy. I thought highly of him. And I couldn't figure why he would split out on us like that. And wouldn't you know it, we didn't make it to noon that day before marshals from the town that we had just been at apparently they've been staying on some other search. The story is that when we left, because those marshals were already there, the townsfolk were able to get them running on our trail. And one thing you don't want to be running from, any troubles really, but marshals especially. And they rounded us up. We had to give back the money. A number of us spent some time in jail before we were able to, get our way. Luckily, none of us were hanged, but I think all the time what that friend of mine saw that we all missed, let him know that we weren't going to be able to make it out with our ill-gotten gains. God, I don't know. I'm going on too long. I'm sorry, Whitmore.
That is quite all right. A man and his drink needs to speak. But let me counter with a point of my own, if you don't mind.
Have at it.
You say I remind you of a quiet man who watches and acts on his own. I disagree.
Do tell.
I am quiet, not because I have nothing to say, but because those around me, much like some of the characters in my novels, have better, more important things to say. I do not act as your lone stranger did, selfishly, escaping only myself, but rather with the group. I have done nothing that is not for Hargrave House and her residents, be it for you, for Victor, or for Lord Campbell-Hughes. So while you may heroicize that lone man, you also elevate him to the status of a fictional character trapped in a book, a villain, if you will. You and I are not trapped in some long forgotten story, only to be picked up by someone. You and I, and Victor, and Lord Campbell-Hughes live in the moment. Sometimes that moment causes you to chink your knives, as Victor does, causes you to smoke your cigars and drink your gin, as Lord Campbell-Hughes does. Sometimes it requires you to ride a horse backwards through the streets of London, shooting off a gun at noon, as you have done not once, but twice. And sometimes it requires a clean set of sheets laid out in the morning. It requires a healthy breakfast made, dare I say, with love each day. Sometimes it requires that person sitting in the back of a church pew praying for the safety of others. It requires a commitment, both of weapons, both of body, both of mind, and of the little things, often forgotten. So while yes, you and Victor are out there gallivanting about, guns and swords and knives blazing, and Lord Campbell-Hughes has his explorers club with his friends that I will never get to know. I do not sit at Hargrave House twiddling my thumbs, doing nothing. I prepare us for the sun to come up tomorrow.
And we cut there. Conditions. So, secret keeper, what do you think?
I don't know. I wasn't quite sure what that condition was all about. I know is because I kind of owed Kenny, right? Yeah.
I mean,
Unless,
conditions don't necessarily have to be like,
So-
completely, like devastating or anything
Mm.
like that. I mean, they could just be like a state of mind, something that you've taken on.
well, then I feel like maybe I've hit that one then, because maybe
Okay.
I'm kind of, maybe that can represent like holding a little bit of weight on my shoulders, feeling bad
Sure.
about like asking a kid to get complicit in my dangerous
Mhm.
escapades,
Sure.
and getting to kind of air that story that I've been holding close, that, unrelated, but kind of, also heavy story.
You're letting loose a secret.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
All right, I'll take that. Okay. And then Whitmore, what do you think is appropriate in this particular scene to let go? In the dark or devil's trick?
At face value, in the dark seems like the easier one to get rid of, but
Okay.
I think devil's trick,
Okay.
because the devil's greatest trick is convincing us that there was only one of him. And I think throughout this conversation, Whitmore has made it very clear that he is one of a group, and it is important that that entire group stick together, that each part has its role to play. The devil of the murderer combats the devil of the drunken cop that kills him, combats the devil of the priest that tries to absolve the sins, that just fails. Each person has a role to play.
Love it. All right, go ahead and clear that condition. So, since we were engaging in, I guess, excuse me, we were engaging in Doc's vice, you have the choice of inviting Whitmore to ask you a question about your past, or you can create a clue for one of the two threats that's now on the table.
I
Again,
think I have-
can't conclusively, answer a question.
I think I have a good idea for clues. That's what I want to go with.
Okay. all right.
I also think it brings Kenny in. I think we're in the neighborhood. I think I see Kenny going by. I think I'm like having a great time with Whitmore, truly, like down to my bones. Doc is just like, this is great. We're talking about things, and that's so interesting. And calls Kenny over. Boy, Kenny, you gotta come over here.
Before
Listen.
you tell me your clue, I'm gonna go back to the other two
Oh,
and
sorry.
then find out what. No. I mean, like, I just like to do the cut back. I just want to cut back to Lord Campbell-Hughes and find out what clue he found.
So while we're talking here in the study, Lord James notices like there's a cabinet where we keep these dossiers, and I said, this Shoreditch slugger, Mr. Armstrong, he reminds me of somebody. Let's see. I'm going through the dossiers. Not Theseus, not Perseus. This one, Achilles. And so the clue is a dossier on the Greek hero of the Trojan War, Achilles.
Perfect. Go ahead and throw that into the threat tab under clues. And okay, so Doc, you've seen Kenny go by. Yeah.
I'm calling him over. Kenny, it's so good to see you. I've been thinking about you ever since we talked last. Listen, you did me a solid. I owe you one. And in some capacity, I'd like to toss him some coins. I don't know if it's like winnings from whatever game we were playing the night before, or if it needs to be, I can give him one of my possessions. I was going to give him maybe the lamp if you thought it'd be necessary. Because
It's up to you. It's up to you. But once you give it away, you no longer have it. Yep.
Okay. Well, if it doesn't feel too necessary, I think I'm tossing him some coin, and just being really nice to him, which I think is always surprising for a little street urchin. And I think in exchange for that, Kenny lets me know, I've been thinking about, when we chit chatted too, I've been keeping my eyes open on things because I like the idea of being a spy, kind of like you had me being, and like that I could give you secrets that I found. Well, one of my friends has been bragging that he's been hired as a runner for the Shoreditch slugger.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like one of his buddies is like going and getting stuff from the Shoreditch slugger. I don't know if we should give more details than that, because depending on what angle we want to take it with, it could be a lot of different things he's going to get.
I'm gonna say it's like, you can say that the Shoreditch slugger has has a runner.
Yeah.
And then you can contextualize that when you decide to answer that, whatever particular question it is.
Perfect.
For sure. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, go ahead and throw that in the threat tab. All right, so given the time, I'm going to say that we're just going to close out, well, not close out day phase, sorry. We're going to stop the session, like end the session here. So this way we have room for stars and wishes, okay? And then like, if there's like anything else that we kind of need to like review or what have you, then there's some time to do that. So I don't want to go over, be respectful of your time. So, yeah, we will continue with day phase next session. And we're just going to go ahead and do a round of stars and wishes. Holy crap. So much good stuff in this session today. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. But I want other people to go first.
I can go. For me, stars all the way around. I really like for like this very like shorter day phase, like the stark difference. It felt like Doc and Whitmore were very much like Doc feels very like of the people, understanding the common man, and Whitmore is like we're all of the group together, which is very like stark in difference. Two very like high status individuals clinking glasses, being like casualties. Am I right? Clink. And it was a really good like difference between the two specific stars. I really like Mads and portrayal of Cobweb, and like Doc and Cobweb's like interaction was really cool. I really like how y'all did that scene. That was really fun. I really like Mads has heard this start from me before to someone else, but I am always envious of people who can play very much more like subtle characters with like subtle storytelling, and Whitmore with all the crosses and the religious iconography was really cool to see. And yeah, and I really liked the very well read, like I assume well written, because if you did it off the top of your head, like I would feel like the worst role player. Your mask, Daniel. If that was off the cuff, well done. But either way, it was very good. I liked it a lot. It was really cool to see.
I've got stars for like one-liners. There's been a lot of really cool one-liners in this one, like Paul's oh, this monster cleans up after himself, and just the way that Paul the way that you play Victor, like the way he talks to monsters, or even things that you think is going to be a monster, you're already having a conversation with them, like you know them. And then the back home on the farm, or wherever, that was a great one-liner from Whitmore. There's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of good quips from Whitmore. The description, Bob's, your description, a star for your description of the dive bar in the beginning. I think I've been to that bar in Knoxville. It's called wait a minute, Preservation Station. Is that
Preservation Pub?
Is it based on that?
It's based on a lot of bars in Knoxville put together. The tall and skinny part, absolutely, yeah.
Preservation Pub, yeah. Is it
yeah,
still open? Because
yeah,
I was getting some claustrophobic because you can't move down the bar. You can't move down.
Yeah.
You can't move down. Okay, so star for bringing in Knoxville. And I put down creepy cobwebs as well, but also just the clues. A star for the clues that Mads that you're picking. You pick like you're picking like really creepy ones, like for the catacomb, and it really. I like a star for Whitmore trying to interact with the clue, and it's just made it creepier. So those are my stars. I don't really have any wishes. Just to keep going, and yeah.
Stars to Daniel, Paul, and Bob for the experiencing the echo of the night. Figuring out a way to wrap that in was just in general beautiful. As far as more personal ones, a star for Bob for I think in my notes I have it as fabulous slow riff. The slow playing off of each other in the vulnerable move. Fantastic. Mads, a star for, as always, organizing and putting this together.
okay. I've got lots of stars. Heck of a session. Anytime I'm this excited by the end, it's a very good sign. Daniel, I mean, a number of good things from everyone tonight, but the thing that really stuck with me was it was your question, one of your questions that you answered, the dawn questions. You had picked like dead-eyed. Did you give a dead-eyed monologue about? Yeah, that like I thought dead-eyed monologue, and then when it was mentioned in your dawn question, I was like, oh wow. So that was very on purpose, because I would have described that if I was like writing out. Then Daniel did a dead-eyed monologue about. That was lovely, lovely, lovely. Yeah, Jeremy, that response from Whitmore to the story, so dialed in, so perfect, and like it felt like, again, if I was writing this in a book, that would be something I would totally put on the page, because it would mean something to the readers. It would be an evocative and fun conversation. That wasn't even the thing I had percolated in the back of my head. I went into the vulnerability stuff ready to do like a boxing scene with Victor. So I really felt, I was like, man, this is kind of an out of, left field story. And you were just right there, right in the pocket. Really, really impressive. And yeah, Victor, you play, or rather, Paul, you play Victor as the monster hunter so well. All the little bits of swagger and like how you're engaging with the monster, from the dialogue you're doing, and also the way you're describing your physicality with it, like doing the whole kiting around, coming in and out, and you can just imagine it, and like smashing the projectile like headstone with your armored boots. So killer. Was really fun to listen to, very exciting to listen to. And Mads, I loved everything as always, but also I'm so excited. The way you introduced Cobweb was so perfect, and just like it got me. I haven't had a game that focuses on like romantic tension at all. And that to me read like it was perfect. I totally felt that it works. It works really, really well. And as far as wishes, not necessarily next session, because I chose my dawn questions to focus on a bit more inter-party conversation, but I definitely in the next few sessions would love to circle back through with Cobweb. I want to keep building that. I think that could be really, really fun and interesting.
Yeah, I just enjoyed this session so much. Again, oh my gosh, you guys are just like pulling it out of everywhere, and I love it. Um, so some specific stars. Yes, Paul, with your description of dealing with when you encounter the monsters, or when you're entering a room or a space, or when you're, dealing in a fight. I mean, like, it's still very evocative. I mean, like, I'm like seeing it, like your scenes turned into like anime, and I'm not even a big anime fan. I can just like hear these sounds and the music in my head, and like I know what this looks like. And then Whitmore, that high dignity speech. I mean, again, the Factotum gets subsumed by their employer, but you have such immense dignity about what you do and pride in your work, that it's like you are just as important as everybody else, if not more so. I mean, like, I can't wait to see when you are feeling like you are going to deal with threats, maybe a little bit more efficiently than even Lord Campbell-Hughes. I mean, because you are doing it as part of the team and you are doing your job, you know. But I could hear it, I could feel it, and I love it. I mean, I've dealt with a couple of Factotums before in other games, and it's like, everybody plays their character differently. I mean, like Paul's legacy is not like my legacy in the game that I played. So I mean, again, it's like all these different characters, and I have now seen 4 Americans. So, and everybody's different. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. And then Paul, your conversation with Lord Campbell-Hughes, both of your masks were so powerful in that the details of yours, Daniel, and then kind of weirdly dovetailed into what Victor saw in his. And if you improved it, amazing. Holy crap. if you manage to just make it relatable and related somehow, this was what we call serendipity, because it worked so well being told in the beginning or before day phase and then leading into day phase into your vulnerable scenes. Holy crap, I like that is just fantastic. So I mean, stars for all of that. And yeah, the casualties thing got me. The casualties thing, like, you know, finding out, yeah, they're important but unimportant at the same time, and that's just horrifying. So holy shit, I can't wait to hear more math, because I mean, like, we know so much about these characters and yet not, and then I'm almost afraid to hear more about these characters because, oh, holy crap. Yeah, wishes. I mean, like, you know, again, as you said, as you all said, it's like, you know, just keep going, you know, just like, you know, finding out more about these characters, seeing how they deal with the threats as we go along. And yeah, we didn't see the mastermind today, but frankly, I mean, like, you know, with all the stuff that you packed in night phase and part of this day phase, you didn't really need to. So, I mean, there was ample opportunity to see her, you know, come forth later on. And I have to start remembering to start posting some pictures in the London tab. Yeah, I will, like, you know, when I pull them out of my stash, I will start posting some pictures of at least Puck and Cobweb, and then maybe perhaps a blurred picture of the mastermind when I get to it. So this way you can kind of get an idea. And yeah, I think that was everything. Yeah, take advantage of any place that you can put down, make notes, like whether it be in the unseen, like in the unseen tab for the prompts, or in the London tab for whom you meet, or even in the threat tabs, which has spaces for all the side characters as well as the clues. So you have to scroll down further to see the side character doohickey. And yeah, I mean, somebody might want to be pulling out the Mask of Penance at some point before you resolve the threat, because definitely next session we're going to get to dusk phase, and you can answer the question that resolves the threat. But I'm just telling you, because like once you resolve the threat, that mask is gone. So,
And that's the thing we want to do.
well,
I mean,
because
obviously,
you know, well, one, to find out what it is. I mean, some people are curious, whatever. And then also two, because the masks of the past and the future are your timer, your character timer. You know, once you run out of masks and you only have blood-soaked portal left, it's like character's done. So again, I mean, like, you know, this is where people kind of get what's the word? Like economical. I mean, like, granted, you guys were rolling really well today. I mean, like even the mid results, I mean, like you still could have ran with them and it would have been fine. But like as it gets more dangerous later on, sometimes it's like you want to have some masks in reserve. And the way to do that is by utilizing the threat masks, you know? So this way you don't have to call upon what you personally have in your playbook. So just a thought. All right. And there are some threats that don't even have a mask associated with them. So that again ups the danger, makes it a little bit more difficult and such. But yeah, I mean, like I learned from my first campaign. It's like, you know, like don't get too excited about the mastermind clues, calm the hell down, and like, you know, just enjoy the ride. Okay. Don't rush into it. Cause yeah, they were using, they caught 10 and then they wanted to get to 12. And I'm like, stop using masks. No, I'm not doing that. Not doing that again. So, anything else for you know, from this session or for next time?
No, we're not supposed to ask questions about characters outside of the game, but I have a question for Paul, if you don't mind.
Yeah, what's up?
In your vulnerable move, you mentioned more people coming back than what you left with. What did you mean by that?
Oh, not, I mean, like, I was just in the vulnerable move. I was asking is like, mostly I was asking is like, as people like over time, you should come back with like less casualties if you're like learning from your experience.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I
Okay.
wasn't super clear when we
No,
were like
that's-
having the scene, but like he was like
Okay.
saying like I was like, oh, do you like come back with like more people every time? As in like, did you return with all the people you left with, kind of deal?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, could that combined with the mask? Oh, holy crap. I mean, like that was so powerful. I'm just like, oh my God, no. Oof. Yeah, one of those really nasty lessons. But yeah, again, great session, guys. And I look forward to the next one, which will be in March. Woo, holy crap. The 9th, of course. And then the 23rd. So yeah, I'll post it in the Discord chat. And then if you have any mechanical questions for next time, just let me know. You guys have a wonderful couple of weeks, and I will see you next time. Bye. Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night.